Today, we are diving into a legendary yet underappreciated game that launched over 14 years ago and still deserves more love than it gets: LA Noire. Published by Rockstar and developed by Team Bondi, it dropped in 2011, smack in the middle of the GTA 4 and GTA 5 hype. You had Red Dead Redemption, and then you're on the tail end of Bully. Amid all of that hype, LA Noire quietly slipped under the radar for a lot of people, but man, it really does deserve the spotlight. Let's take a look at why this detective gem is still one of Rockstar's most underrated masterpieces, and why it still holds up today, nearly a decade and a half later, in terms of graphics, story, and gameplay. First off, the big question: why is LA Noire considered underrated? I mean, Rockstar's resume reads like a blockbuster film script. You know, you have the open world mayhem, you have heists, explosions, crime, and then they release something as unique as LA Noire, which is more of a detective thriller than an open world sandbox like how some of Rockstar's games are. I mean, to put it plain and simple, it was kind of just overshadowed. The world was still buzzing about the GTA 5 hype, and then GTA 4 was still really big at the time. Of course, Red Dead Redemption was released just a year prior. You had Bully, you had Max Payne 3. There was just so much hype for these Rockstar games at the time, and LA Noire, with its like slow burn investigations and serious tone, it didn't really fit the mainstream mold, but that's exactly why it's so timeless. What really set this game apart was Rockstar's gamble on the motion scan technology, where they had 32 cameras capture actors' faces from every angle to nail the micro expressions of all of these actors. So the goal was to make you look at a suspect's face and decide if they are lying or telling the truth. That's pretty much the entire gameplay loop, and the reviews at the time, and even the reviews now about the game, still call it revolutionary and one of the best facial animation recognition technologies ever in a game. That technology did come with a cost though. I believe each individual camera of the 32 costed somewhere around $6,000, and you're recording 1 gigabyte of data per second. But Rockstar and Team Bondi thought it was worth it, and I think that their investment certainly paid off. They were definitely right. It's literally the core of what makes LA Noire so special. I mean, just look at that face, come on. But beyond the technology, the game itself, the story, the tone, is just very bold. It's set in post-World War II Los Angeles, you're playing as Detective Cole Phelps, and you're peeling back layers on corrupt cops and the city's underbelly as the story goes on. You're not jumping in helicopters or going on heists. You're piecing together clues, you're analyzing crime scenes, you're interrogating suspects. It's just like quiet, it's dark, and it's so different from Rockstar's usual games. And in terms of visuals, for a game that's 14 years old, it looks incredible. I mean, that's in typical Rockstar fashion. I don't think anyone is necessarily surprised by this, but the buzz around the graphics, I mean, it's certainly mellowing out now, not only because the game's 14 years old, but also because people are used to the motion caption technology that Rockstar was using back then. That technology is pretty much a part of normal game development now, but it was definitely unheard of, and one of the major factors contributing to LA Noire being one of Rockstar's biggest budget games by 2011. So that's certainly worth, taking note of, looking at the context. But graphics wise, beyond faces, the actual environment itself, the city had a crazy atmosphere. It feels so alive, like even more alive than some games today. Not that I'm pointing any fingers, but I mean, Rockstar had already won when they went to the drawing board and they picked out Los Angeles in the late 40s as their setting before they even began developing. I mean, that is just a winning environment. Like, that is so awesome. Such a cool setting to be in. You have the glimmering neon, the cigarette smoke, the flapper style dresses, the fedora caps. It all pulls you in like you're walking onto the set of a black and white classic movie. And the soundtrack, oh my god, don't even get me started. I promise I'm not even just saying this for the video. I still listen to the LA Noire main theme soundtrack from Andrew Hale at least once a month on Spotify. But in terms of story and characters, the game can be completed in anywhere between 20 to 30 hours depending on how much of a completionist you are, which I think is the perfect length for a game like this. It's probably on the shorter side compared to other Rockstar games, but you don't need the Red Dead Redemption level of immersion to play this game, and I think that's partially one of the aspects that makes this game, so unique. It starts pretty slow in terms of plot. I remember my first playthrough, I kind of thought that there was no linear story to the game, but it just picks up more and more as the game unfolds. Detective Phelps starts as a by-the-book rookie, where we periodically learn key events from his past, and we slowly learn more and more as the missions go on, and of course that's where the plot sort of starts to erupt. Many critics even called the game one of the strongest stories Rockstar has ever published, which is extremely high praise considering the reputation of Rockstar's narrative-driven games. And I think it's certainly deserved. I mean, the storytelling is perfectly layered, it's perfect pacing, it's sweetened with all of these tropes of betrayal and ambition and the realization that justice isn't always black and white. And something you might not know about the story, some of the cases are actually built on real crimes from the era, just like the Red Lipstick murder was based on a 1947 murder of Jeanne French, which adds a documentary depth to the game, which I think is so cool. Plus, you have side stories, you have street crimes, you have collectibles. It's all sprinkled in there. It's not necessarily an open world you can just roam, but it's enough to give you variety and still keep you focused. When you're looking at games that are 14 years old, you have to be honest, you have to ask the question, is it still fun to play today? Is it just the nostalgia kicking in? Was it fun to play in 2011, but not so much in 2025? How does the gameplay and the engine hold up? I think it absolutely holds up, and that's an understatement. I mean, you can still play through the game differently and make different judgment calls, which gives the game that replayability factor. Interrogations still engage you. I mean, you're judging voice tone and body language and the facial expressions, which we talked about. Sometimes it's subtle and you might miss it if you're not paying attention. Sometimes it's impossible to miss. The gunplay is definitely not up to par with, a game like GTA, but it's certainly good enough for a game where that's not the main point. So in my opinion, the game, the engine itself, it still delivers a very satisfying gameplay loop, and you will not be disappointed if you boot up this game in 2025. So 14 years later, if you haven't played LA Noire, you are missing out on one of Rockstar's best games in an already stacked catalog, and I highly suggest that you play this game, even just while you're waiting for GTA 6 to come out in the next year or so. Just boot up the game, I promise you will get sucked in. Just think of it like Blade Runner meets CSI with like that top tier Rockstar level of polish. It's so good. And if you have played the game, you may know its main plot, but did you know that they referenced actual LA buildings like the Barclay Hotel, and they actually film studied Sweet Smell of Success, Chinatown, and radio dramas like Dragnet, and books from Elroy and Chandler. So there's so much going on here. Even if you have already played the game, there's still new things to learn about the game. I mean, the team's created like over 140 production Bibles to nail the accuracy, which shows how much thought went into each individual scene of this game. LA Noire remains in that quiet corner of Rockstar's already bona fide legacy, and I would love to see a sequel or a remake, but Team Bondi did fold just like 5 months after the initial release of LA Noire, despite shipping 4 million units in the first month, so we might just need to let the original LA Noire breathe. We're probably not going to get a remake or a remaster or a sequel, and I think that's just fine. This game standalone 14 years later as is still amazing. Let me know down in the comments if you guys have played LA Noire, and if you haven't, I highly recommend trying it out because I promise you won't be disappointed. Besides for that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.